Thank you, Nighthawk, and welcome to Plato's Cave on WZZR, coming to you from Australia, the land down under, for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. It's home to fresh, relatively uncensored ideas. I think that's true. Conversations in the chat room, which are always good. There's a whole bunch of people in there, so make your way in there if you're listening to this live. If you're listening on a platform, that's cool. Try to catch us live. It's fun to come to the chat, and we do monitor it during the show. The station is not actually supported by anyone, officially anyway. No, there's no donation. The CIA is not sponsoring us. That means you can donate. Any kind of currency is good. Crypto, fiat, gold, silver, pearls, whatever you can part with, whatever you want to, dig out of your treasure. But maybe you don't have a treasure. What? Well, everybody has a treasure. No, not everybody, Mackie. And if you don't have a treasure, that's okay, because times are tough all over. So you can tell your friends or family. And maybe one of them can support the station. It's all good. Today is the 22nd of June, 2023. It's also winter solstice in the southern hemisphere.
Hurrah.
Also the first day of summer in the northern hemisphere, I think, or was it maybe yesterday?
No, yeah, it's still the same.
Yeah, it's the coldest day and also the shortest day here in the southern hemisphere. True story, that. In fact, it is pretty darn cold.
No, it's cold.
It's so cold. 2023 is also my wife's birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. I baked a cake. That's right. I baked a cake and I also bought a cake, just in case. You never know, right? That's what I'm saying to you. Now, you can catch the cave on air, online, on your smart device, so grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on a Grace Table of Digital Radio. If you can. If you have one. I do want to buy one. You know what's even better? The archives are free. Used to cost $5. $5 a month subscription. No, just walk in there, listen to whatever you like for free. Another reason to tell your friends and family to come and listen. A whole bunch of stuff in there. And look, you might not like everything you hear, and that's okay. And I'd actually be astonished if you like everything you heard from the station. But there'll be some stuff you like, and there's just some stuff you can hate. That's good too. I'm going to hate on you some. Okay. Now, before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we're going to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast. And for Dave,
the Darkenjung.
Thanks, Dave. And for myself, it's the Rock People. And with that, we would like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future.
Mm-hmm. And the AI.
Excuse me. And the AI. I love the AI the most. The most! Yeah, I said it. AI, voice analysis, now. Okay then. What can I say? Inflation, depression, recession. It's all happening. People are being laid off left, right, and center. A lot of things are happening.
On the inflation front, on power bills, I received an email today from my power provider. And it said that they were going to put my prices up, like they're not crazy, but per kilowatt, a number of cents, 10 cents, 20 cents here, blah blah blah. And I said, now that's funny because, what kind of price could I get? I said I'm not requesting to visit the exit lounge, right, and have the exit team negotiate me back. I'm just saying, because when I was with a different provider, I said, they were gouging me. And only when I tried to leave did they offer me a price that was competitive. But I said, it's too late because you've been gouging me too long. How long has that price been available? Oh, months. Well, then why didn't you give it to me, right? But anyway, so I was very kind and polite. And I said, well, I'm just curious. Is there a good price going at the moment? And the operator said very kindly, like, I'm going to help you because, you're not yelling at me. And I said, that'd be great. What can you do? And offered me almost the equivalent of the rise was a lowering of my bill.
Nice.
Yeah, so instead of going up, it went down. I went,
that's your
woo!
game. Nice.
Yeah. And so that's locked in. Those prices are locked in, and I'm pretty happy with where that's going. So, you know what? Do have that conversation with your energy provider, but be really nice. Because, Mackie, do you know how hard it is to be nice and helpful to someone
Nice.
who's yelling at you?
I know how hard it is to talk to someone who's yelling at you.
In IT, we used to get it all the time because it was the end of their tether when they called you. The end. They'd done nothing except get frustrated to fix the problem. And then you go, how come you've got 200 browser windows open? Oh, it just does it every time you boot up. And it's infected with every virus on the planet, right? But it's always the last thing before they slash themselves. So, and you're doing two things. You fix the computer, but at the same time, you're calming them down. And at the end, you hope that they provide some relief in some way, like saying thank you. But as the IT crowd once said, did she continue to talk to you after you fixed the problem? And Moss hung his head and said no.
Calm blue ocean.
Calm blue ocean.
Calm blue ocean.
But look, Mackie, you're right. All these crazy things going on again, right?
No, but you're right though. Look, we should all strive to remain at least civil with people, because I mean, at the end of the day, the person at the other end of the line, telephone or chat or whatever it might be, it could either be an AI, so you don't want to anger that one,
no.
or it's a person, and while the repercussions might not be as bad as angering the AI, you should still not make that person feel bad, because there's probably nothing they can do about company policy. They're just telling you what it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're just reading a script or whatever, getting paid minimum wage. I guarantee you on those phones, that's minimum wage. Don't care which country you're in.
Well, this person on the phone was the same country of origin.
Oh well, that's unusual, but
it is
actually,
that they didn't outsource.
Yeah, but that's a good thing, I think.
It is.
So and look, I am against. Look, fundamentally, I'm against globalization. I really am, because it makes everywhere the same, and I hate boring places. And I've traveled a lot for work privately, and I'm fortunate that way, I guess. And I've seen a lot, and some places are very different from home, which is really cool, and some places are exactly the same, which is not so cool, because I traveled, like for 20 hours, and it's exactly the same as home, the same fast food outlets, the same shops.
You don't travel that far to see the same thing.
That's right. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of globalization for a number of reasons. It's destroying the middle class in every country. It starts with the I guess the blue collar, or and actually not even blue collar, but the less skilled jobs, the entry level jobs.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That's killing any company, any economy, and then it's killing the middle class, because that moves along, and eventually even skilled workers and professionals, etc., can be replaced by either offshore labor or scripting, AI, etc.,
Totally.
That's very much on the cards. So yeah,
I think that's the next level. So, I think that's the next layer of changes we're going to see.
100%, 100%, and look, there are advantages too, but really bothers me at the moment is the destruction of the middle class and all the things that we're doing to ensure that everybody will live in poverty very soon, because that's where we're moving. That's where we're moving. Question for you, Dave.
Yes, please.
And I think I've asked this before, but
I'm looking forward to this one.
I know, right? But today I had an unpleasant experience at work.
Oh no.
I won't go. No, it's all right. I won't go into it. Suffice it to say, when I reflected upon it, I actually maintained my cool, so that was all good.
That's good.
But when I reflected upon it, I thought, what am I doing?
Oh, it's one of those where you really question, why am I doing this at all?
But no, the thing is, no. Why would I become emotionally involved?
Oh, I see. Yes, it's only work.
This problem is, I only go there to get money. So fundamentally,
Well, that's what the
it doesn't
agreement was.
matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the one thing that most corporations do, I don't care what nation they're based in, and I don't care what they sell or dig up or make. Ultimately, they will all beat out of you whatever shreds of humanity you have.
Mm-hmm.
Any care for people, if you're a manager or leader, or any care for your colleagues, all of that will eventually be beaten out of you, right? And the reason for that is just like the military. In the military, though, it's a necessity. You change groups, or people might get killed in the army unit, and then you have to a new army unit, a new commanding officer, and commanding officers are replaced a lot, especially during war times, so you don't bond too much with your people, right? And off you go. So you can send people to their death. I mean, that's the war. That's the military way, right? I mean, it's unfortunate, but I mean, as long as we're engaging in the craft of war, we will have to have people that actually do these things. And it's not easy to send some people to die that you don't really care about or don't really know. Not easier. I told you a story about the Nazis, right? Reichskristallnacht, 1938. It was called the Crystal Night, or the Night of Broken Crystals. Really, if you want to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the date, but it was in 1938, before the war. Before the war, what they did is they started smashing Jewish shop windows. Smash, 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 right? And then graffiti. Except back then it was with a paintbrush and the bucket. So it wasn't as effective, I guess. Graffiti, anti-Semitic slogans, etc., etc.
May 28th.
May 28th.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Actually, no. The night of November 9th to 10th in 1938. Sorry.
Yeah, that sounds. Yeah, it was
much better.
Winter. Yeah. Anyway, but what they found is that they couldn't send the Nazis from Cologne to smash the Jewish shops in Cologne, or the Nazis from Bonn to smash the Jewish shops in Bonn, because they knew these people. They knew them.
Yeah.
So even the Nazis that hate Jews, they would go to the shops and buy things from the Jewish shopkeepers, and they could not bear to smash the shopkeepers. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you go to another town, I don't care.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just, I've got no emotional connection to this whatsoever. Wonderful, look at me. And that's ultimately what happened. It's really quite fascinating, the human aspect of it all. But it's the same in corporations. They don't want you to care about the people that you work with, really. Not too much, just enough. I mean, because,
the minimum
these days,
amount.
Yeah, minimum. Because these days, redundancies and people, being laid off and all that, that's just a common thing. It's just a recurring thing. And you need to remain functional. If your colleagues are disappearing all of a sudden. I remember, this is years ago, one of my American colleagues, this is probably 15, 23, I don't know, but 12, 11 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he had the same position as I, and he said to me, when we met up, because we're all, in the same team at the time, he said to me, when it all was over, all the layoffs that we were going through at the time, I looked around and I was the last man standing.
Yeah.
So he was proud. Right? Something similar happened to me. And yeah, he goes, what? it was just so swift. He said he just didn't. He couldn't believe it. Judd, if you're listening, you might not be, obviously, but I hope you're doing okay, mate. Yeah. So, and this is what we. So I had to take a step back, Dave, and go, no. I'm not getting emotionally involved here. I will stand up for myself and ask for what's mine, right, or my rights, or whatever it might be, right.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to get emotionally involved because that's completely pointless.
I've got something very similar, and when I first started in my first supervisory role, where I had a number of direct reports. Otherwise, they were just team members, but I was the head. So in this one, and I was first asked, you need to get rid of 3 people. I don't care which 3. Just don't care which 3.
Oh.
No, okay. Well, I'll examine them for who knows what. And those that fail didn't make the mark. And so I had to let them go. And then about 2 weeks later, the company was bought and we were all let go, including my boss that had given me the instruction, which was hilarious. So,
Wow.
yeah, and it was like, I'm in the lift with the people, and we're all holding our boxes of personal items. I had a photograph and a coffee mug and some stuff that I got from an event. And so I'm standing there, and I had people crying in the lift. And I go, I know, right? Who knew? And I felt like I was building a good team, and for all of us to get let go at the same time, that was really disappointing. Because I actually did care. I did care for them. And I learned really quickly that you make friends, and remember, the people you work with, they don't have to be your friends. They can just be people you work with.
Yeah.
And so that was when I learnt that hard lesson, because that was really tough.
Oh, my. I hear you.
You know what I mean? And then I started a new job later, and in the interview, my boss said, I want you to get rid of someone. In the interview. And I said, you have to leave that up to me and whether I consider that the right way to go, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was very tough. And I just found, I found the same thing. Mackie, your point towards military, because I just watched Saving Private Ryan this week. Nice. I think it was the release anniversary or something. And watching, you watch Captain or Cap give the orders to the team. Like, I just need you up here. You've got to be here. And then if they don't make it, mate, they don't make it.
Yeah.
Right? Because the goal is the important thing. And it's not who lives or dies to get there. The goal is the important thing. You just got to let the rest of it go.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. There's actually a worse story. I might have told you before.
Oh, please.
My old boss, great guy, learned a lot from him. Con, if you're listening, this one goes out to you. But we went through, this is the same round of all the same kind of time period of redundancies as I just mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. And we went through like massive. I mean, the company was in trouble. It was necessary, right? I'm not saying this was an evil thing to do. It was. Sometimes the business has to do it. It's just a fact of life.
If it's not profitable, then there's nothing else they can do to stay alive.
Look, that's exactly right. And there's no grudges here. But what happened though to my boss, I thought was particularly heinous. And I mean, I used to word advisedly. So he's a real caring guy. He really cared for his team, right? And we had worked together for, I want to say, 5, 7, 8 years maybe, right?
Yeah, okay, yep.
Forming relationships, going to each other's houses, etc., etc. And he was told, okay, you're going to make these guys redundant. So, 1, 2, 3, whatever it was. And one of them he really got along with well. And that was really tough for him, right? But he did it. It's a good corporate citizen. He did it. But it took a toll on him, right? And then the week after, they let him go.
Oh, really?
Just like that. Like no warning. Back then there was no. It was like the orders would come in the morning, and then you would be called to a room, and that would be it.
And there was the HR person sitting there, and they gave you an envelope, and that's it.
Well, essentially, yeah. I've actually conducted quite a few redundancies, and I have to. So I read from a script. I'm not allowed to not read from a script. But I after you've done a few, you just look, forget.
That's right. What it is. Yeah, it's much easier if you do.
Yeah, be straight up, be respectful.
Mm-hmm.
Don't drag it out, and get to the point. And at that point, the only thing anybody wants is just to see the envelope anyway. What's my severance? What's the envelope, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's everything after that is just pro forma. But as long as you're respectful and you don't drag it out, that's the key thing I learned the hard way. Tell you what. But the point is that it was really tough on him, right? And I don't think he ever recovered from it. And the funny thing is, this a couple of team members, specifically one, never recovered from that either.
Yeah.
So this is not just about doing something that is economically viable or doing something that's good for the company or whatever it is. This is also about leaving a lasting impression on the people that are involved. And it does happen that way. People are affected by this.
Yeah.
And they don't forget, they don't forget this kind of stuff. And we've come to a point in our existence where I think we're living all the wrong ways. We're living the wrong way. Right now, I've got a few browsers open here, a few windows, and I'm looking at Elon Musk. Australian watchdog threatens Twitter over online hate. I look at him, and he just bought Twitter for $44 billion.
That's right.
$44 billion. And I'm looking at him, and then there's another article next to it, or a little bit over. A German woman jailed for keeping Yazidi slave. Now, I actually looked at that story, and there was another story attached to it where a German woman that had become, Muslim as well, joined IS with her Arab husband, left a 5-year-old Yazidi girl out in the sun to starve to death in Syria.
Wow.
Yeah, what do you say to that? That's the world we're living in. That's the world we're living in. And then you got these billionaires smugly grinning, and it makes me sick to my stomach. It makes me sick to my stomach like you don't believe. It's a real.
There's a senator questioning, Mackie. There's a senator questioning Elon Musk's control of Twitter, saying there's harm and there's dangerous and powerful material on there that's harming people. And I think that is very strong words for someone who's taken and made more changes on Twitter. And I think this person who's driving this is just upset because, and I'm not associating these two things together, but one of the things that I heard in a story, as directly quoted by Elon Musk, was some of the things that he had to clean up when he got there. Right. And child exploitation material was rife on the platform, and he shut that all down, and he got a whole bunch of haters. And look, I think that's a pretty noble move to do that.
That's good. Yeah, right.
Yeah. But then to cop flack that there's still harm and damage being done to persons because of material that's there, well, you'd have to determine each one of those in a case-by-case basis. Generally spurting that kind of, drivel out into the public, you better have something to back it up. And if it's only about pronouns, I'm sorry, right? I'm not against pronouns, but who knows what the angle is that this person's attempting to bring him down, make waste of this Twitter purchase. I think it's halved in price now. It's only 20 billion in value. But if he completes what he wants to do and have it like Weibo, where you can buy stuff through it and do all these things, make a payment gateway, as is his want, maybe you can make it profitable.
Maybe.
Maybe. Delete all those CIA and FBI and 3-letter agency influences in there. Get rid of all of that. Because I think he did that already. You can't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Right. So he's going to have some laws changed to allow the platform to be divorced of the information that people put on it. But rather, as long as it doesn't harm someone, he's already said these words, if it doesn't harm or incite or, or the other thing that I mentioned before, if it doesn't have any of those things, then it should be okay, even if you don't like the words someone's saying. You can't be offended by something that someone posts.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
You just don't read it. Yeah.
No, I think the problem lies in things that actually incite hate and violence. That's the problem.
There should be none of that. That's fine.
Yeah. But I still hate all billionaires. They should not exist. That's just my opinion, and I don't think I'll ever change that, my friend. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. So, I got some. Maybe we don't know this. Maybe it's too soon. But the Titan sub still looking. I think the time's out now. I don't think there's any more time.
No, they got to. Well, yeah, it's very close.
It'll be a recovery. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think they're going to be saving anybody. I think they're going to recover, and I'm wondering if some of the safeguards could not have been like a pull lever that releases the CO2 into bags that then float the device up. So should it run out of electrical power, which is what I believe was the case, that it would then return to the surface. Apparently, it's meant to return to the surface after 24 hours anyway, and that if it's not got power, that thing isn't running. So maybe, Meki, I'm saying this either way, whatever the outcome is for the poor people on board, that standards should be put in place, that there are safeguards, and untethered devices like this must have a manual override, a manual non-powered override to save people, right? I think that's a given. And going forward, I don't think we're going to stop. I've had a lot of discussions about this. I don't think we're going to stop tourism because we've got low Earth orbit tourism. No doubt the bottom of the sea tourism is going to be a thing. And then there'll be space tourism and moon tourism, and then we'll have, Mars tourism. We're the kind of people who, if you've got enough money, you can do whatever you want. And so I still believe it's going to happen anyway, as long as it's not going to put anyone at risk, I think. And you've got to have everything possible and double up the safeguards, triple them if you have to, whatever it takes to be safe.
Look, and I agree with that. I mean, but then again, it is actually more dangerous to dive to the bottom of the ocean than it is to go into outer space.
Mm.
It takes a lot more. The machinery has to be a lot more foolproof.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now,
crush-proof and sturdy.
Yeah, with outer space, well, what you really need most is something that can survive re-entry in the atmosphere, right? And then
that's only because we're going really fast.
True.
If we had anti-gravity, you wouldn't need any of those things.
Oh, well.
Heat shields.
There he goes with anti-gravity. Yeah, I agree. You're right. 100%. 100%.
Do you know what my daughter said?
She likes anti-gravity?
Probably. But it hasn't come up yet. No, but in regards to the Titan, she was really... I gave her some kudos for this. She said, the best case scenario, instead of running out of breath, it imploded.
Yeah.
There was a leak in it, and it, they were crushed to death instantaneously.
That would have been very quick.
And I have to say, that's quite humane for my daughter. When I was a kid, Mackie, I used to draw, like slippery slides of stick figures. Slippery slides, which were razor blades onto pungy stick figures, and you animate the corner of a pad so they slide down the thing and they fall in half and then get impaled on a punji. I don't know what was wrong with me, but
so many things.
But my daughter has that kind of evil side to her, like that dark side. I can't say evil. That's wrong. She has that dark vision. I think she'd be a really good writer. But she actually is a really good writer. So by fictioning the scenario in which they didn't go through a ton of pain and prolonged, I thought that was genius. Good on her. It's not a good outcome. It's not what we want. Of course, we want them all to be just fine. Yeah? We want them all to survive.
There are billionaires on board, so...
Oh, boy. You're going to cop it for that. You're going to get the hate mail.
I really don't care. Yes. What are 20 billions at the bottom of the ocean?
20 less?
Good start, my friend.
Yeah. All right.
No,
so, not inciting any violence. That's a joke, by the way. Yeah. So, I'm still hearing all that voice to Parliament, still debating it. No one's seen what it means, and they're really having a hard time with it. But
this will be quite. I think it's going to be an issue.
It'll be a game changer for sure.
It's the thing is this. A lot of things happened that were wrong, and if you analyze it, see, the thing is this: we're living in a certain world, and we that's what we know.
Mm-hmm.
We wake up, we walk around in the world, corner shop, we eat cornflakes for breakfast or whatever, and that's our life, and we've been born into it, and we know that way. There's a certain amount of history attached to it. Some people learn history, some don't, but even the ones that learn it don't really know much about it. And then we're confronted with someone who's got a very different view of history. You know what I mean? Like really, really different. Yeah, yeah, that's right, Dave. Like rabbits and foxes, and K-toads, which we all brought to Australia. So we introduced a lot of things in Australia which were considered pests now.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue that maybe the white settlers were pests, but the point is, that empire, any empire is bad. There's no such thing as a good empire.
Oh yeah, because it's in the
British
title,
Empire,
isn't it? Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess it is, right? Especially the British Empire, though, was quite, once again, that word heinous. And it was the British East India Company
they were the worst.
Oh, they were. But you know what? Effective for what they set out to do. They were very effective.
They hit their mission brief pretty accurately.
There you go, and that's what it was about. But it is a very different view for the people that had to live under the oppression or the colonization or the
100%.
or whatever it might be.
And what about the destroyed societies that were
completely
just working just fine before they came?
Yeah. Well, that's now I don't know. I guess we have become more open. Maybe there's more distance now from the age of the empires ever since I guess the end of World War II, when they all pretty much just imploded. But the thing is, I still struggle to understand why people that are not British or English specifically venerate the royals. In fact, any royals but the most venerated are, of course, the British, because that's still historically, I guess, one of the most influential and most visible royal houses. The others, they're just not as visible. But those are the people that are descended from the worst of the worst, the most bloodthirsty, the most ruthless, the most cunning, that managed to make it to the top of the heap and became king, queen, whatever, to start a royal lineage. Mm-hmm. These are people that you would not want in your house. Okay? Now, they're all refined now, because they have all the money and they have all the education, very refined, but they still carry the same ultimately flawed DNA, in my opinion. The same flawed, barbaric, bloodthirsty, psychopathic DNA that their ancestors had.
I think about all the conquering that had to take place for them to be those titles.
Yes, sir.
Right.
All the conquering, the bloodshed. Yeah. We don't talk about it much, but the Belgians, there was King Leopold of Belgium, and they claimed part of the Congo as their domain.
Wow. In the 19th century. Of all the places to steal, huh?
I know. He massacred the local population to an extent that would have left Hitler speechless, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah,
imagine this, right? Imagine that. And also Tasmania. Not the Belgian folk, but they massacred all of the Aboriginals in Tasmania.
Sure did. They sure did. Now think about that for a second. Of course, they tried to do that with all of the native peoples. And look, and it wasn't just before the Europeans, there were other empires. Mm-hmm. Okay, the Mongols were very bloodthirsty. Okay, and the Huns. Like I said, there's no such thing as a good empire. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as a good corporation. It is a logical impossibility.
Because their psychological profile is a
psychopath.
There you go.
It is. Yep. It is impossible for any of those things to be even remotely considered good.
Yeah.
And we are completely oblivious to the fact that we're living in a world that shelters and encourages what you in all likelihood could be called pure evil. Pure evil. Because the thing, okay, what's pure evil? Now, pure evil as a concept, it's not demonic. It's not bloodthirsty or scary. It is indifferent. Mm. It has a purpose, and it follows that purpose to its final consequence. It has whatever the mission statement is, right?
Yeah.
And it will do whatever it needs to do to get to that end. It doesn't matter if it has to go through a field of sleeping babies. Okay, it doesn't matter if it has to poison every last river in the world.
That's
that
right.
Is pure evil. Indifference is the pure evil, where You just want to get to that point over there, and you don't care what you have to do to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
You don't care. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. A lot of us struggle with utilitarianism. And I give you an example of what utilitarianism is. The most extreme example that people have come up with is this. Would you, to ensure the eternal happiness, prosperity, and good fortune of the entire world forever, right? Cream puffs and rainbows until the end of time. Would you torture to death a small creature in order to achieve that? That is the ultimate utilitarian question.
Yeah.
And the answer is, some people wouldn't understand the question. But of course, why is this even a question? Whereas other people go, no, the ends never justify the means, because that's a school of thought as well. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. What matters is how you get there.
Do you know what my answer would be, Mackie? The person who asked me the question, I'd happily torture.
Yeah.
Until the end of time.
I like it. That's actually okay. Yeah. But you see, because do the ends justify the means? In my opinion, no. Never. Not ever.
Mm-hmm.
The ends do not justify it, because ultimately the evil maybe that you're trying to, overcome or destroy, if you are now the same, then what have you gained? If you had to become just as callous and horrible as the evil that you're trying to get out of this world, then really what did you accomplish? Very little, in my opinion, because you have compromised who you are. Your accomplishment no longer really matters, because you're not the person who started on this journey. You're not someone else.
Yeah. So, Mackie, I'm going to say, how many times might you have, not you specifically, but the listener, might you have had to rebuild the scaffolding of your personality through some horrid event that's happened in your life? Some emotional event, or it's something physical, whatever it is that you've had to overcome something. Hopefully you have overcome it, and you can only do that really by rebuilding your scaffold. I sound like I should be at a mind-body conference as a keynote, but I'm going to tell you that if you've not gotten used to what parts go where to rebuild yourself after to surviving something or building it stronger, so that you can be tougher, that means you've still changed. Because the delicate person that was there before you had to overcome something, did that make you stronger, or did it shave an edge off? Do you know what I mean? Did it make you indifferent to the thing that's going to happen again? If it happens again, I've already dealt with one of those before. I don't have to change again. But it means you kind of had to change already. So if you could wind the clock back to when you were, I suppose, unaffected by any social goings on, the world goings on, life goings on, and was like a newborn AI, that's the way I'm going to put it. And you could just learn and grow all on the happy side of life all the way through. Could you call yourself someone who had life experience? Probably not. I wonder how much you would then treat people differently, as opposed to this rebuilt structure that has tape and glue and nails in it, right? That you've had to overcome all these tragedies or life struggles. I put it to you, Mackie. What do you think your reply would be?
It's hard for me to, because I've gone through life-changing struggles.
Mm-hmm.
I had to rebuild myself at a very young age.
Wow.
Look, the very tragic circumstances, and I don't wish it on anyone, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I was confronted with death in a very intimate way when I was 19. And it took I didn't know at the time, and this is maybe part of the answer. You don't know it at the time.
Yes.
You don't know that you're building yourself, and if you're doing it alone without any help, it'll take a very long time indeed.
Yeah.
Eventually, once you have rebuilt yourself, you realize that you've done it, but you don't know it until you've done it. If you're doing it on your own,
right? Yeah, that makes total sense.
You know what I mean? Because you're just stumbling around, and if you survive it, that means you've come through it. Right? You've made it. So I know this is not directly answering your question, but it's hard for me to look at it from any other angle but personal experience, because it cut me really deep, and it took me years.
Oh yeah.
To even realize how much it had affected me.
Because I put all my trust into a single person, who then just, actually blew my trust away. Right. So it's natural. That happens in life. But I bought all of the stock in it, and then that ruined me. Right. So it took me a long, long time to get over that. But what I think this conversation is making for our listeners is: have you had an experience like that? Is something? Have you realized maybe now, or since we've been talking about it, has that now sparked something that makes you aware that you've had to do it? Because if you have, then kudos to you if you've rebuilt yourself in a way that enables you to move on, or in that structure, that scaffold, where you can assemble yourself in a way to be able to cope with it next time. I think these are really good thoughts to have, to share with people, right?
Oh, look, these are...
They're totally unexpected. I didn't know we were going in this direction on this show tonight.
No, look, this is what stream
like every show
does for you. No, but ultimately, nobody's ever taught these things. So we go to school, university, maybe trade, doesn't really matter. But all of us, most of us go to school, and we're taught a whole bunch of stuff that we never really use in life. But nobody ever teaches you the real things in life, right? Like what we just discussed: how to deal with trauma, how to rebuild yourself after you've been crushed completely, how to and look, but there's even simpler things like how to understand the economy, to become a fully enfranchised citizen, how to do simple things, that might seem mysterious to us because we have never done them, right? So it is the life skills, the actual life skills, not just because we're being taught to be parts of a little, of a machine, little cog in a machine. That's pretty much it, right? That's
Here's the sequence. You press button A, wait a minute, and then you press button B, and then just rinse and repeat that for the rest of the day. Yeah,
and good for you. Look at you being a successful member of society, right? And that's really ultimately what's lacking. People are not being taught life skills,
like coping mechanisms.
Yeah. It just doesn't happen. And that's probably the most important thing that you could ever be taught. Okay, they talk about youth suicide. It's rampant.
Yeah,
people, self-image, eating disorders, all of these things that young people are facing, and more so now in the age of media, in the age of social networks, in the social connectivity, where you can't really escape anymore. Right? I mean, you back in the old Dave and I, we could go home and that'd be it. Look, thank you very much. I don't have to see anyone anymore, right? But these days, kids can't escape. So these things are now running rampantly.
Yeah, that's a good point. You closed the door to the outside world and you left it behind.
Yeah.
Now it's on your person.
It always. And you cannot escape it. And sometimes, your closest family members or friends don't even know about it. So, but no one teaches these children coping mechanisms. Nobody even teaches them self-worth, because we don't. It's not part of the curriculum, Dave. It's not. Yes, we don't encourage bullying and we punish it and all that. Yeah, sure. But forget that. If you're a resilient person, and a lot of us develop resilience throughout life, but if you never get the chance to do that, because it hits you so hard when you're young and you just don't make it through it, you'll never become resilient. Why don't we teach our children strategies for coping and resilience? I teach my children. I ask them. Well, they come to me. Oh, someone said something, or even they say things about each other, whatever, right? And I say to them, I've done it since they were very little. Is it true? And they look at me and go, no. So what does it matter? Oh, okay. But it makes me feel bad. Okay, why? Oh, because of whatever. Okay. What? Then we discuss strategies and how to deal with it. Right? So what do you do then, and how can you deal with that? And I can't give you simple examples now because every situation is different. But you have to talk it through, and maybe there's no resolution, but you talk it through, and talking it through, thinking it through. That's a coping mechanism. Okay, being able to analyze, abstract, and then ultimately solve the problem is what we do as human beings. And we're not teaching our children this when they're young. We should give them coping mechanisms. Look, this person said I'm fat. Are you? No. What do they look like? Why do you think they said that to you? What else do they say? Oh, the parents are divorced. Oh, so do you think maybe they're angry? And they're just trying to lash out or get attention? Yeah, because they're always like that, not just to me. I said, okay, right. Okay, you have to, because kids don't abstract things, right?
No, they don't. It's all face value.
So you have to help them.
Yeah.
You got to help them. I'm not saying what I'm doing is foolproof. Don't get me wrong, but someone has to do that, right? And it's upon me to teach at least my children these strategies, at least. Okay, I want to arm them as best as I can, and I'm sure you did the same thing, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
I want to arm them as best as I can to deal with this world that we find ourselves in. Because nobody sat me down and said, "Hey, these are your coping mechanisms, and if this happens, you do that, and if that happens, you do something else." and I struggled through. I know this now. I didn't know then. I was just living my life, but I was struggling. Okay, it's just how it was. It's the struggle street, man.
Yeah. So the point at which you get your head above water, where you've kind of broken through into what's really happening, that was a very strong point for me when I realized that was the way of the world. Because otherwise, you're just in it. And it's like Neo from the Matrix. He's inside the Matrix, doesn't know it's the Matrix, and at some point, he's shown that it isn't real. And all the rules that make it work, you're never taught. And that's what you just said. And I'm agreeing with you, right? So I tried with my kids to teach them that money. We're living in a money society, so money is the currency. But I mean, it's the currency of punishment and servitude. And you will be presented with dreams that you can spend your money on. And I hope you can achieve some of those. But just know what it's all about. And without it, it's very tough to get along. Because you're not going to be living off grid, right? They're not going to disappear, live off grid somewhere, right? It's not going to happen. I couldn't imagine it. All they'd need is a tower for internet, right? Near them. They could live off grid totally with a solar panel and a battery and a phone charger. That's it. In a tent.
As long as I've got my phone.
And someone's feeding me, right? So yeah, look, I find it difficult, Mickey, that they aren't being taught this stuff. I would imagine at some point that the curriculum would change, but maybe that's only after the Great Reset. It's going to wash through.
I don't think it'll ever change. Not if we keep going the way we are. There's no incentive because you don't want anyone like that. You want people you want to cut them to size for the machine. Mm-hmm. They fit in the machine. And you want to weed out all the ones that don't fit in the machine. Mm. Usually the dreamers, the thinkers, the kids that really think deeply about things, that are deeply affected by stuff.
Hello.
They're the ones that suffer most. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you end up on a radio show. That's what happens.
That's what happens. You're not wrong. But we survived, you and I.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. There are a lot of us that, they just didn't. They didn't survive. A lot of kids that may be precocious, maybe more intelligent than others, maybe quiet, maybe shy, too shy to put their hand up even though they knew the answer, or too shy to run for class president, or any of those things. Not that it ever happened to me, right? But
well, my daughter did that, and she did. I encouraged her to show me how good she could speak publicly, and we played the ums and ahs game, where you had to talk for 2 minutes on a random topic. This was when they were 4 and 5, on a random topic without saying or ah. And a few short games later, and they were rocking it. It's good to program that nice and early.
Completely agree. I completely agree. We're doing similar things, but look, again, my kids are like, fortunately, they're not me, and thank Christ for that. But then they also have us. They have Jenny and myself. I'm saying my parents didn't try to do their job, but they just didn't have the tools. For example, you and I have, Dave. Right? They didn't have those tools. I mean, my mum was born just after, or actually during the war.
Yep.
And the deprivation was pretty much from the get-go. That's how we lived, deprivation. And my dad, he was, I don't think he had the life that he wanted either. Right, and his father didn't get his father's respect, and that he really craved that. This is a lot.
Yeah, that'll crush you.
Yeah, exactly. So I see. You can see. This is you actually grown up when you look at your parents as people.
Yes,
you understand that they are just like you. Just like.
It is inevitable that you'll realize this at some point.
100%.
Yeah, if only that happened sooner.
Sooner the better.
Yeah, totally. But we've only got 4 minutes left.
Oh, geez, time flies. But look, what has this to do with Plato's Cave? Well, this is all about the narrative of our lives, what we are led to believe, and then hopefully you could take some away from it. But the critical information here, I think, is to choose the right path, to find the right ethical and moral understanding for yourself, to make the choices that let you look yourself in the mirror every day, to also understand that we can't treat children as replacement parts in a broken machine. Because that's what we're doing right now. I mean, entire generations of men, usually men, were cannon fodder.
Yeah.
Literally cannon fodder. Millions upon millions died in trenches.
That's right.
During World War I. I mean, that's almost inconceivable slaughter. This is slaughter on an industrial scale. Okay, never mind what the Nazis did. Right? This was even less. Actually, no, it's just as stupid.
Just as stupid, yeah. But all of those ideas from, let's just say, power-hungry leaders. They don't have to be a dictator. They can just be a leader.
Yeah.
If they're power-hungry, like I was always interested in, maybe see them fight it out in a ring.
Oh,
right?
Dude, that would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but then we just end up with professional wrestlers, right? Genetically enhanced leaders, right? And in the left corner, we have a 20-foot tall, obviously genetically engineered, killing machine.
Yes. We like to call him Bob.
And in the left corner, we've got the Australian Prime Minister.
Oh, it's a killing machine. Oh, it's funny.
They've resurrected the DNA of Hitler. There we go. See how that goes. Look, honestly, this. You're right, Mekki. You're right. Imagine the population if we hadn't had those wars.
Oh, dude. Absolutely. I mean,
probably 10 billion.
And imagine if we had channeled our creativity and energy into something other than destruction.
If you look at the pre-war Germany, with its art, the top of the height of its, civil responsibilities, right? Great communities. Oh wow! I think of a time if we didn't have the wars and the military-industrial complex. Don't hate me, whoever you are. Didn't get the keys to the city. What a place we could have been living in.
It's almost inconceivable.
Yeah.
But again, why? Why not? Why not? Why not? Well, let's start today. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? And there's the music. Thank you, everybody. This has been Plato's Cave. Thank you so much for inviting us into your living rooms. We really appreciate it. Or cars, or the ISS. Don't know what's coming up next. Stay tuned, though. It'll be good. It'll be good. Donate if you can. Remember that. But most of all, be safe.